Garth and I are making over a dull and boring part of the garden by simply adding a one-of-a-kind water feature and, of course, planting it up with great plants that will work beautifully in the spot. Right, Garth and I have decided that we're going to be making a water feature right from scratch. We want to use it as our main focal point, walking through that garden, right into the trees. The sound of water, oh, Garth, I mean, nice. It's awesome. You got a koi pond?
Yes, I have, Tanya. There's lovely sound with the water running all the time.
Folks, this is how we're going to do it. It really is simple. We've got a bucket of river sand here. We've got some black plastic, and we're just going to take that and empty it onto the black plastic. Now, what's important with this is that we're going to be using a leaf to create the actual water feature. So this is the part where you can imagine the water is going to bubble up through into this leaf that we've made and then over into the sump. So first thing is to get the shape of your river sand, most importantly. Now, this is not going to be just a feature that will be lying flat, so we want it to be quite mounded, because obviously as we put the leaf on here, it's going to take that shape. And we want the leaf to come out being almost V-shape so that the water can bubble up, collect in it, and then spill over the edges. So we've got this gorgeous gunnerer leaf. Now we want something that is almost round. So go walking around in your garden and find something that's going to do that job. Take your gunnerer leaf and pop it on top. And that should do it. If you find like at this end where it's almost touching black plastic, then just take a bit more, add a bit more to it so you can roll it round. Right, leaf is in place. Now all we got to do is go and get our concrete mixture ready. For our measurement, because our leaf is not that big, we're using half a builder's bucket of fine river sand and half a builder's bucket of PPC cement. Pretty simple mixture, anybody can do it. There we go, let's give that a start. Garth, how's that looking?
Beautiful, Tanya, already.
You don't want this to be too runny a mixture, else it's going to run right off the leaf, and that is not going to work. Right, first up, folks, just to recap, remember that for these, you are putting the leaf, the top side down. The underside must be facing the top. Importantly, this is the first step. Get a pair of secateurs, and I want you to cut off the stem. There we go. Get that stem off. And now, we want to join these leaves and get them as close to each other as possible because we're wanting this to form a bowl. So join them together just like that. Right, Garth, have you got them there?
Yep, I've got it.
Right, and bang, on he goes. Because as you do that, so it's going to keep the leaf that you've joined just in the right place. You want to go for about 2 centimeters. 1.5 will be fine. Bang it on your first layer, and then the next most important thing that you've got to put in is this little guy over here. Now just explain how you got to this, Garth.
Tanya, this is just a 50mm copper pipe that we use on a household water line, you know. And all we're going to do is find where the water's going to collect the most. So I reckon about over here.
So that's about the center of your leaf.
Yeah.
Not the center of the leaf, in other words, where the stem comes out, but the center of your leaf as you're looking at it. So I think about there, Garth.
Yep.
I reckon. Okay, you hold it there.
All right.
Okay.
Tanya,
and then you're going to push them through there.
I'll just cut through the leaf.
You just push them through gently.
And
that's it. Because that is now going to form basically the funnel for where the water will push up through. You'll attach your pump to that, push through right into it, and then bubbling out through it. Much easier to do it now because then you have to save all the drilling and everything else. So make sure he's gone right through the leaf into your river sand. And now we just take our next bit of mixture and pop it round. Once those 2 technical bits are over with, all we're going to do is carry on and filling out the rest of the leaf, covering it, making sure we get nicely to the edge of the margins. All right, next step is to get a bit of wire, 8-gauge wire. This is what we've got here. Can be a bit thinner depending on the size of your leaf. And this is going to be the reinforcing. And all we're going to do is bend it to the shape of the leaf that we've got because we're going down at an angle. And you're just going to pop these in and just push them gently into your mixture. Just like that. They can cross over, as long as it's just getting to these end bits here, because that is where you're needing that strength. Okay, last one going in. The only thing that you've got to be careful of, folks, here is don't push this guy down too deep, because you don't want it coming through the other side of the leaf. So when you take your mold off, you've got a nice piece of wire sticking out. That's just going to be glorious. So now that this guy's in place, we can carry on with putting our second layer on, which is going to also be about 1.5 centimeters thick. Rightio, Garth, that looks great.
Yep.
Okay, most importantly, how are you going to check if you've got this right? Well, first of all, you don't want to see any of the wires that you've put in. Check 1. Check 2, is this straight? Yes, and is it still in position? Check 2. Very good. Step 3, is your concrete coming all the way down to where the edge of your leaf is? And is it not too thin there? That's important, must be at least 1.5 centimeters thick. To finish it off, all we got to do, Garth, you're going to use the block brush, eh?
Yes, Tanya.
And Garth's just going to take that and gently swish it over it, give it a nice texture. Now we leave it to dry, and then we can reveal it. Alrighty, folks, here's one of our guys that we made earlier. We've just got this connection, because remember, we've got this pipe at the bottom. If you put it down, you're probably going to push it and break it. So put it on there. There we go. It'll rest nicely. Beautiful. And now the fun part, Garth. You start on that side. And now all you do is start peeling your leaf off. Woohoo! Oh man. And you know, the longer you leave it, the easier it is actually to pull the leaf off. Perfect.
Yep.
Now there are bits of the veins that are still left stuck inside here, because we didn't leave the leaf to dry out for many, many days. So what's the tip? When you're making it, rather leave it outside, turn it over, leave it out in the full blazing sun. This leaf will basically curl up and be much easier to remove. Garth and I are making over a dull and boring part of the garden by simply adding a one-of-a-kind water feature, and of course planting it up with great plants that will work beautifully in the spot.